They came without warning. Then, cities turned to ash, written in third-person simple English and around 1900 2000 words with suspense and strong emotional pacing. Part 1. They came without warning. Then, cities turned to ash. The sky was clear when it began. Children played outside. Cars moved through busy streets. A soft wind moved across trees and buildings. It was just another normal day. People were talking, eating, working, living. No one knew it would be their last peaceful moment. Then, a strange sound filled the cell. Air, it was low, deep. A slow hum that shook glass and made birds fly away in panic. Phones stopped working. Satellites went dark, and every screen from TVs to smartwatches flashed the same thing. Global emergency. Remain calm. Do not look up. But people did look up, and they saw them. At first, they looked like black dots in the sky. Then they grew larger. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Gigantic ships, shaped like blades, slicing through clouds without making a sound. They covered the sun. Shadows fell across entire cities. From New York to Tokyo, Paris to Delhi, the world turned dark. Some screamed. Others prayed. Soldiers ran to their posts. Fighter jets launched into the air. Earth's defense systems prepared to fire. But it was already too late. The ships opened fire, not with missiles or bombs, but with beams of pure energy. Buildings turned to dust, roads melted, people vanished before they could even run. In less than 5 minutes, cities were reduced to ash. Beijing, gone. Moscow, gone. New York, silent. A full-scale invasion had begun. Captain Mira Voss was in the underground command center in Nevada when the first wave hit. Her screen showed a satellite view of Earth's surface, dozens of red spots where cities used to be. "Are we firing back?" she asked. "No point," said General Rahim. "Our weapons barely scratch their shields." Another soldier ran into the room. "Sir, communications are down. The global defense net is failing." Captain Voss looked at the screen. "Do we have any allies left?" "None are responding," said the general. "We're on our own." Mira clenched her fists. "Then we fight, even if it's just us." Outside, the air was thick with dust and screams. People were running, hiding, dying. The sky was no longer blue. It was black with smoke and filled with burning debris. The alien ships moved slowly, like predators in no rush. The news anchors cried on live broadcasts. One simply whispered, "I don't know what's happening, but if you're watching this, run." But there was nowhere to run. In Brazil, a young boy named Tiago saw a ship pass above his village. It didn't attack, yet. He hid with his family in a nearby cave. The ground shook. Animals ran from the forest. Even nature could feel the end coming. In Kenya, a teacher named Amina tried to guide children to safety. One of the alien drones hovered in the sky. It didn't kill them. It scanned them. Then it left. In space, the International Space Station watched helplessly as Earth burned. Astronauts cried. One said softly, "There's nothing left to go back to." Back in Nevada, Mira was preparing a defense. "We still have underground bases," she told her team. "They don't know everything about us. We'll hide, we'll regroup, and we'll strike back." One young lieutenant asked, "But how?" "They're everywhere." Mira looked at the hollow map of Earth. "They think they've won. That's their first mistake." Suddenly the lights flickered. The walls shook. A siren blared. Breach detected. "They found us," said General Rahim. The base was under attack. Alien drones drilled through rock like paper. They were tall, thin, and fast. Their weapons didn't shoot bullets. They melted steel. Human soldiers fired back, but only a few hits made contact. Mira grabbed her rifle. "Get the civilians out! Use Tunnel 5!" Explosions rocked the base. Walls cracked. Fire spread. Screams echoed through the halls. General Rahim stayed behind to hold the line. He handed Mira a small chip. Take this. It has everything we know about them. Run. What about you? She asked. I'm already dead, he said, and turned toward the fight. Mira ran. Tunnel 5 led to the mountains. Mira emerged into the cold night air with a few survivors, scientists, medics, and young soldiers. They looked back. The ground shook as the base collapsed behind them. We can't stop here, she said. We move north. Where? Asked a scientist. To Site Delta, Mira answered. It's an old shadow project. Off-grid. They won't find us there. The group moved silently through the dark. Above them, alien ships glided across the sky like ghosts. The next day, global broadcasts went dead. Every nation's flag fell. The UN building was destroyed. Earth was silent. A voice began broadcasting from the alien ships. It spoke in perfect English, then Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, every major language. This world is now under Volcari control. Do not resist. Your leaders have fallen. Your armies are broken. Accept your new order and you will live. Resist, and your species will end. Some humans obeyed. Most did not. In small pockets across the world, resistance began. Old soldiers, civilians with courage, scientists with secrets, children who had lost everything. They formed small groups. They hid in forests, caves, sewers. They passed messages by hand. They learned the enemy's patterns. They studied wreckage from crashed drones, and they waited. Mira and her group reached Site Delta after 5 days. It was hidden under an old mining facility. Dusty, broken, forgotten. But the system still worked. Power came back. Screens lit up. Old files loaded. Inside the deepest level, Mira found something strange. A locked chamber labeled Project Revenant. What is it? Asked a soldier. I don't know, she said, but we might need it. That night, Mira stood outside the facility and looked at the stars. She could still see the alien ships moving slowly, watching, waiting. But she also saw something else. The fire inside humanity had not died. Not yet. They came without warning. They turned cities to ash. They broke the sky. But they didn't break her, and they would soon learn. Humans never stop fighting. Not until the last breath. Not until the last light. Not until the war is won. The chamber was cold. Even though Site Delta had heating systems, the sealed room felt like a tomb. The air was still, heavy, as if time itself had stopped moving. Captain Mira Voss stepped inside slowly, her boots echoing on the metal floor. Behind, her, Theo, and Dr. Voigt followed, flashlights shaking slightly in their hands. In the center of the room was a single object, not a weapon, not a machine, a coffin. The container was long and black, with strange markings carved along the edges. Not military tags, not human. The symbols pulsed faintly like they were breathing. Is this alien? Theo whispered. No, said Dr. Voigt, voice low. This is older, much older. How can it be older than alien tech? Mira asked. Voigt looked at the markings again. Because it matches something found on Mars, a ruin buried under the red dust. The government kept it hidden, but the markings were the same. Then what's in it? Theo asked. Voigt stepped closer to the coffin and touched a nearby console. Dust flew off. Lights flickered to life. A small screen lit up. Project Revenant authorized access-only bioform containment, human origins unknown, status. Alive Mira stepped back. Alive? The lid of the coffin hissed. It was waking up. The air turned colder. The lights dimmed. A high-pitched tone filled the room, just at the edge of hearing. The lid slid open, slowly, carefully. Inside was a man, or something that looked like one. Tall, pale skin, eyes shut. His body was covered in scars that looked burned in like he had survived fire after fire. Strange cables were connected to his spine and arms. A faint blue light pulsed beneath his skin. Then he opened his eyes, and everything changed. Theo fell to the ground, holding his head. "He's in my mind!" Dr. Voigt backed away, her voice trembling. "This isn't just a man. This is something built or transformed into a weapon." Mira raised her weapon but didn't fire. "What are you?" The man sat up. His voice was calm, cold, but every word felt like it carried the weight of centuries. "I was made in your image, born in fire, forged in extinction. I am the last survivor of a war that ended before your kind learned to walk." Mira didn't lower her gun. "You're human?" The man tilted his head. "I was, until they came." "The Volcari?" Voigt asked. He shook his head. "No, something worse. They called them the Eaters of Light. Not a species, not conquerors, but something beyond understanding. They fed on energy, thought, memory, entire civilizations erased in seconds. The Volcari were just pawns, scouts. They searched for intelligence. When they found it, the Eaters followed. I fought them," the man said. "Long ago, when your son was still young, my people lost." "Then how are you here?" Mira asked. "I was sealed, hidden, buried deep so they could never find me. But now you have awakened me, and they will come." A sudden alarm screamed through the facility. "Intruder alert." South Tunnel Mira looked at Theo. "How did they find us?" But Theo's eyes were wide with horror. "They didn't. They were already here." In the dark tunnels of Site Delta, something moved. Fast, silent, deadly. Not Volcari. These were smaller, crawling like shadows, slipping through cracks, through vents. Long limbs, no eyes. They didn't walk. They slithered. Soldiers opened fire. Nothing worked. One screamed as his weapon melted in his hands. Another tried to run but vanished into smoke the moment one of the creatures touched him. Mira's team ran to lock down the doors. "We have to seal this floor," she shouted. Theo looked at the Revenant. "Can you fight them?" The man stood tall, his body now glowing with ancient blue light. His arms crackled with invisible energy. "I was made for this." He stepped into the tunnel alone. No armor, no gun. The creatures sensed him and attacked. Dozens, then hundreds. They leapt. He raised one hand, and the tunnel exploded with light, not fire. Not plasma. Something deeper. A wave of raw force blasted outward. The walls shook. Screams, inhuman, echoing, horrible, filled the air. Then silence. When the smoke cleared, only the Revenant remained. Back in the control room, Mira tried to understand what had just happened. Dr. Voigt was pale. "I scanned that wave. It wasn't just energy. It was memory. He erased them like they were thoughts in a dream." Theo stared at the screen. "What is he really?" Mira answered. "He's hope. Or maybe the last weapon we'll ever need." Later that night, the Revenant spoke with Mira privately. "The Volcari think they control the Eaters," he said. "They're wrong. Once the Eaters awaken fully, they will consume everything, including their own." "Then how do we stop them?" she asked. He looked at her, eyes glowing faintly. "With pain, with loss, with sacrifice. Your kind must become what you fear." "What does that mean?" "You'll see, but you must be ready to lose everything." Again. Outside, the sky was still dark. The alien ships had not moved. But far beyond them, something stirred. A shadow larger than a planet, colder than space, older than light. It turned its gaze toward Earth, and it smiled. The signal came in broken, just noise at first. It was a weak transmission buried under static, full of echoes. But when the tech team cleaned it up, they heard something no one expected. "This is Luna Base. We are under attack. Repeat. Under shk. Don't trust Kirk. They're already signal lost." Then silence. Theo Mercer stared at the frozen waveform on his screen. He was a communications technician hiding in a remote mountain bunker. He hadn't slept in 2 days. The world had ended, and now the moon, the last hope for a safe zone, was under attack too. "No one's supposed to be there anymore," said Dr. Lena Voigt, a scientist from the cryogenics division. Theo shook his head. "They stayed behind. Skeleton crew, engineers, scientists. They were running long-range scans, watching Earth from orbit." Dr. Voigt leaned in. "Did you hear that part? Don't trust who?" Theo swallowed hard. "I don't know, but it didn't sound like they meant the Volcari." Mira. Voss was still recovering from the loss of the Nevada base. Her team had made it to Site Delta, hidden in the Rockies. They were cold, tired, and running out of food. But they were alive. When Theo played the message for her, she stood in silence. The voice from the moon had sounded scared, more scared than the people on Earth. "We have to know what happened," Mira said. "If the moon fell, then nowhere is safe. But if someone betrayed them," Dr. Voigt said, "we might already be compromised." 2 days later, Mira sent out a recon team. Their goal: find a clean uplink station that could re-establish contact with the moon. It was dangerous. Most satellites had been destroyed, and alien patrols still flew overhead, but they had no choice. Theo joined the mission, carrying the last coordinates from Luna Base. The team moved through the forest, avoiding drones and scanning for traps. The Volcari left strange machines behind, metal towers that hummed and glowed blue at night. When humans got close, they vanished. No blood, no noise, just gone. One soldier, Harris, stared at a tower too long. His nose bled. His hands shook. "I heard music," he whispered. "Like voices. Singing." Mira ordered him pulled back. "They're testing something new." At the edge of a ruined city, the team found a military relay tower still standing. Theo worked fast, fingers moving, over broken keys and cracked screens. He rerouted power from an old solar bank and pointed the dish toward the moon. Static. Then, connection. A shaky video feed flickered to life. A woman's face appeared, covered in blood and sweat, floating in zero gravity. "Luna Base, this is Dr. Celine Kaur. If anyone is listening, we're not alone up here." The feed stabilized for just 3 minutes. In that time, Dr. Kaur explained everything. The Volcari had reached the moon 6 days ago, but they didn't fire their weapons. They boarded. The crew fought back. Some were killed, but others changed. People started acting strange, speaking languages they never knew, having dreams of places that didn't exist. One man walked into an airlock and smiled as it opened. Dr. Kaur said it was not just an invasion, it was a test. The Volcari were looking for something, or someone, and then she said the most terrifying part. "It's not just them. Something else is here. It doesn't speak. It doesn't move. But it watches us. Even in our sleep." The screen shook violently. Flashing lights. Screams. Then Dr. Kaur looked directly into the camera. Her voice became low and broken. "If you're hearing this, they are already inside. Don't trust. Signal lost." The tower burned out. Theo stepped back, heart racing. "Inside what? Inside the moon? Inside people?" Mira looked at her. "Team. She said some humans were acting strange." "They could be infected," said Dr. Voigt. "Or worse, controlled." Silence fell. The idea spread like poison through the group. If the Volcari had a way to control humans, no one could be trusted. Back at Site Delta, paranoia grew. Soldiers started watching each other. Friends became cold. Some began keeping journals, trying to track their own thoughts, afraid they might change without noticing. One man, Private Kulin, was found standing at the base's sealed door at 3 a.m. He didn't remember how he got there. He had written a single word over and over on the wall. Open. Mira questioned him. What were you doing? He stared through her like she wasn't there. I was dreaming. Of stars. Falling. He was locked in isolation. Dr. Voigt ran tests on everyone. She found something strange in the blood of 3 survivors from the Nevada base, a type of energy signature that didn't belong to any Earth material. Not radiation, not infection. Something different, something living. Theo called it the spark. Whatever it was spreading. Meanwhile, the alien ships above Earth were changing. They stopped attacking. Instead, they hovered, silent, still, unmoving, like statues in the sky, all at once, across the globe, and then, just as suddenly, they powered down. Not destroyed, just quiet. People cheered. Some thought it was over. But Mira didn't. She looked at the moon one night and whispered, to herself, why would they stop unless they no longer needed to fight? 2 weeks later, a final signal reached Site Delta. It was short, audio only. Project Revenant must not be activated. They will come for it. They already know. Then it cut out. Theo traced the origin, not from the moon, not from Earth. It came from deep space, somewhere far beyond the solar system. Something was listening. Mira walked to the sealed chamber marked Project Revenant. She placed her hand on the scanner. A green light blinked. Captain, Theo said behind her, what if they're right? What if activating it is what they want? Mira stared at the door. If they're afraid of it, maybe it's the only thing that can stop them. She opened the door, and what she saw inside didn't look human. It looked ancient. It looked angry. The night sky changed. At first, no one noticed. It was subtle, stars vanishing one by one, not blinking, not fading, just gone. Then came the cold. It wasn't weather. The temperature didn't drop, but people felt it in their bones. Their hands shook, their breath caught. It was a cold that came from inside. The Earth was no longer alone. Something had seen it. In the mountains of Colorado, Site Delta prepared for evacuation. Captain Mira Voss stood before her team, eyes tired, voice steady. The Eaters are coming, she said. Our only chance is to run, regroup, survive. One soldier stepped forward. Where do we go? Mira looked up at the sky. We go underground. Deep beneath Site Delta, an ancient tunnel had been sealed for decades. It led to Haven 9, an abandoned Earth defense bunker, not on any official map, not part of any nation, built to house the last 10,000 people. Mira's team opened the tunnel. The walls were covered in dust and forgotten warnings. Do not open, do not wake them. Theo Mercer, the communications tech, brushed snow from an old terminal. The screen blinked to life. Haven 9. Status, locked biometric key. Required, project. Revenant, the ancient man, the one they had awakened, stepped forward. He placed his hand on the scanner. The door opened. Haven 9 was still alive. Lights flickered on. Machines hummed. Deep under the earth, a world untouched by time waited in silence. But it wasn't empty. Inside the cryo chambers were humans, scientists, soldiers, civilians, frozen for years, maybe decades. Mira turned to Dr. Lena Voigt. Why were they never woken up? Voigt hesitated. Because they were Plan Omega. What does that mean? Voigt looked at the Revenant. It means they were never supposed to wake unless Earth was already lost. As Mira walked through the cryo rows, she saw something strange. Each sleeping person had a mark on their arm. The same mark the Revenant had on his spine. Not a tattoo, not a burn, a birthmark. She whispered to herself, they're connected. The Revenant answered without turning. They are the second generation, descendants of the First War. They carry the memory of what was hidden in their blood. You made them? No, the Earth did. Back on the surface, the sky cracked. Not thunder, not war. Reality bent. A tear opened across the atmosphere, wide, black, and endless, and from it, light spilled out. But it wasn't warm. It was hungry. The eaters had arrived. Their form was not physical. They were shape and color and sound, but wrong. Voices that echoed backward. Light that moved in impossible ways. Machines failed in their presence. Time twisted. People who saw them began to forget. Their names, their families, themselves. One soldier screamed, "I don't remember who I am." He dropped his gun and laughed as he walked into the light. Gone, Mira ordered full retreat underground. Seal the surface gates. No one follows. Theo tried to send a warning to other bunkers, if any were still alive. But the satellites were silent. No one answered. Dr. Voigt watched her monitors as the tear in the sky grew wider. We don't have long. At this rate, the entire atmosphere will collapse within a month. Theo turned. What about the cryo-sleepers? We wake them, Mira said. All of them. We'll need everyone. As the frozen chambers opened one by one, people stepped out, confused, scared, but alive. They didn't know about the war. They didn't know about the Volcari. They didn't know Earth was ending, but they had something strange in their eyes. A glow. A spark. The Revenant walked through them in silence, as if searching for something. Then he stopped in front of a child, a little girl no older than 8. He knelt. You carry her light, he said. The girl stared up at him, eyes wide. I had a dream about you. You were crying. The Revenant looked away. Meanwhile, far from Earth, the moon was gone, not destroyed, taken, swallowed by the tear. The entire lunar surface folded like paper and vanished without a sound. What replaced it was not a planet, but an eye. Huge. Watching. Breathing. The Revenant felt it and shuddered. They've opened the Vault of Silence, he said. What is that? Mira asked. He looked at her with deep sorrow. It is where all lost things go. Planets, species, memories. Once you're inside, even the universe forgets you existed. Theo stared at the strange readings. Captain, I think they're unmaking time. What? They're erasing the past. Everywhere they go, it's not just death. It's like that place never existed. No history. No record. No fossils. Like, they undo reality itself. Dr. Voigt whispered, Then this isn't a war. It's a deletion. As Haven 9 sealed its final doors, Mira gathered her command team. We fight with what we have, she said. We build, train, adapt. But more than anything, we protect those cryo survivors. Theo nodded. And the Revenant? Mira looked across the chamber, where the ancient man stood staring at a star map. He's planning something. Later that night, the Revenant spoke to Mira alone. There is one way, he said, to slow the eaters, to delay their hunger. What is it? He held up a small device. It's called the Echo Drive. If we activate it, it will create a loop, a time distortion around Earth. We'll become untouchable for a short time. How short? 30 days. And after that? He looked at her with empty eyes. They'll come again, stronger, smarter, and you'll have to choose who lives and who burns. Above them, in the endless night sky, the stars continued to vanish. The eye grew wider, and somewhere in the dark something smiled. The countdown had begun. Inside Haven 9's command center, a new clock glowed red on every screen. Time left, 29 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes. The Echo Drive was active. Earth was now surrounded by a thin layer of distorted time. The stars outside, the shield, were frozen. The tear in the sky was still, locked in place. The eaters could no longer reach inside, But the Revenant was clear. This is not a victory. It is a pause, a breath before drowning. Captain Mira Voss paced the steel floor, voice sharp. We have 30 days to prepare. After that, they come, and we fight. No excuses, no delays. Her officers nodded, but their faces showed fear. Some had families sleeping in the cryo chambers. Others had lost everything already. Still, they got to work. Theo Mercer, now in charge of communication and scanning, tried to reach any remaining outposts. Most were gone. A few broken signals responded, faint, scared voices from old bunkers in Siberia, Antarctica, and under the oceans. Survivors, barely alive. They begged for help, but Mira had to make a choice. We can't save everyone, she told him quietly. Not if it risks the shield. Theo didn't answer. He just stared at the screen and listened to the static. Dr. Lena Voigt led the science team. She examined the DNA of the cryo-sleepers. What she found shocked her. These people, they've evolved, she said. Their blood has dormant genes, hidden code, left behind by the First War, the same energy the Revenant uses. Can it be activated? Mira asked. Maybe, but it's dangerous. If we rush it, we could destroy them. Mira looked out the window at the sky. We don't have time. The Revenant didn't sleep. He spent his nights walking the empty halls of Haven 9, remembering things that no longer existed. A burning city under a twin sun. A lover who died before language was born. A child who never had a name. Sometimes, he whispered things to the walls, and the walls whispered back. On day 5, the earth trembled. Not an earthquake, a memory quake. Buildings cracked. Screens went black. People forgot names again. One woman forgot how to breathe. The Eaters were pushing against the echo barrier, bending reality itself. Theo called Mira. Captain, the time field is weakening. They're learning. The Revenant entered the room. We must prepare for an early breach. By day 7, the first cryo soldiers were awake and training. They learned fast, faster than normal humans should. Their reflexes were sharper, their minds clearer. The hidden code in their blood was waking up. These aren't just survivors, Voigt said. They're weapons. But will they follow orders? Mira asked. They don't need to, the Revenant said quietly. They remember the enemy. Day 10. A message came, not from Earth, not from any satellite. It came from the tear in the sky. Just 6 words, you are the last memory left. The screen shattered. Dr. Voigt looked pale. It wasn't a message. It was pressure. It spoke through the systems. Theo added, they're trying to get inside the echo drive using thought. Day 12. A boy in the lower levels started drawing symbols on the walls. Symbols he'd never seen before. The same symbols found on the Revenant's skin. When asked how he knew them, he said, the stars whispered. That night, 17 more children began drawing too. Day 14. Half the sky turned red, not from light, from loss. Cities that once existed were suddenly never there. Photos vanished, maps changed, history broke. Even Mira forgot where she was born. She wrote her name on her arm that night, just in case. Day 16. The Revenant brought Mira and Theo to a sealed vault beneath Haven 9. Inside was a coffin, but not his. This one was made after me, he said. She was the first. Mira stared. First what? The first human to survive the Eaters. They opened the coffin. The body inside was not dead, not alive, frozen in some kind of living stasis. Skin glowing faintly with golden light, Voigt's voice shook. Her cells are fighting the echo field. She carries the memory of resistance, the Revenant said. If she wakes, she may break everything, or save everyone. Day 18. The children in Haven 9 stopped speaking. They only stared at the walls. At night, they all drew the same image, a star cracked in half with something crawling out. Day 20. The tear in the sky began to move again, slowly, painfully. But it was moving. Time was failing. The echo drive was breaking down ahead of schedule. Mira called an emergency meeting. "We have 10 days left, at most. We can't wait." She turned to the Revenant. "Wake her." He didn't answer, just placed his hand on the glass. Day 21. The woman inside the coffin opened her eyes. Every light in Haven 9 flickered. Every machine stopped. She sat up slowly. Her eyes were gold, not human, not alien, something in between. She looked at Mira and said, "You should not have brought me back." Then she looked at the sky and screamed. Her scream echoed across every radio on Earth and beyond. On the other side of the tear, something responded. It moved, it changed, it prepared. The Revenant fell to one knee, his energy fading. She called them. "Not all, just one." "One what?" Theo asked. The Revenant's eyes glowed faintly. "The First Eater." Day 22. A new tier opened beside the first, but this one bled. Dark matter spilled into space. Stars behind it vanished instantly. The Revenant stood up. "If you want to win, Captain, you must kill the only thing that remembers us." "Who?" Mira asked. He looked toward the cryo chamber where the golden-eyed woman now slept again. "She is memory. But memory is how the Eaters find us. Erase her, and we may hide." Mira looked down. She had a choice. Kill the only hope for survival, or risk Earth being remembered and devoured. The sky was bleeding. Not red, not fire, but space itself was leaking, and something beyond the stars was watching. The First Eater had been called, and Earth had only one chance left: to kill memory itself, or face the one that even the Revenant feared. Inside Haven 9, the golden-eyed woman slept once more. Her scream days ago had opened a second tier in the sky, one deeper, one darker. Her existence had drawn the oldest of the Eaters, the First. Mira stood over her chamber, fists clenched. Her voice was low, trembling. "She's not our enemy." The Revenant didn't blink. "She remembers too much. The First Eater finds memory. That is how they hunt. That is how they consume. If she stays alive, Earth dies." Theo stepped forward. "What if we find another way?" "There is no other way," the Revenant said. "Even now, she's calling to them. Through time, through thought. Her soul is a beacon." Mira looked around at the others, the children with glowing eyes, the cryo soldiers learning faster than anyone ever should, the survivors who still believed. What if she's our only chance? On day 23, the second tier widened. A new shape appeared. Not a ship, not a creature. A void with a face, not made of skin or bone, but memory, echoes, pieces of everything it had eaten. It spoke with thousands of voices at once. "You remember her. You remember yourselves. This is your mistake." Lights across Haven 9 shattered. Time slowed. Some clocks ran backward. One soldier, aged 20 years in a minute. Another became a child. Reality was breaking. Dr. Voight ran tests on the golden-eyed woman, now codenamed Echo 1. "She's not just remembering the past," she said. "She's holding it together." "What do you mean?" Mira asked. Voight swallowed hard. "Everything the Eaters erase, she stores, in her. She's the reason the stars haven't gone." "Dark." "Then killing her," Theo whispered, "would end everything." That night, the Revenant disappeared. No one saw him leave. But Mira found a message on her console. "I will face it alone. If I fall, erase her, or all will be forgotten." Day 25. The sky over the Pacific cracked, like glass breaking across a mirror. The First Eater began to descend. Not from space, but from everywhere at once. It fell through dimensions, through thought, through fear. The oceans boiled, people in cryo began to scream in their sleep. Theo shouted, "The Echo Drive can't hold anymore! We're losing the time shield!" Inside her chamber, Echo 1 opened her eyes again. She didn't scream this time. She just whispered, "He's here." Her body began to glow, light golden, then white, then blinding. Every child in Haven 9 turned their heads. They whispered her name without being taught it. "She is the memory of Earth," one said. "She is the anchor," said another. "She is what keeps us real." Mira made her choice. Prepare the defense line. Arm all pulse weapons. Wake every sleeper. "We're not killing her." Theo looked at her. "Even if it dooms us?" Mira stared up at the crackling sky. "No, we're not running, not this time." Day 26, the first eater touched the atmosphere. Everything stopped. No wind, no gravity, even sound froze. The earth went silent, and then something stepped forward. The Revenant. He walked out of the clouds like a ghost, armor cracked, eyes burning. "You took everything from me," he said. The eater responded without words, just pain. Everyone inside Haven 9 felt it. Some dropped to their knees. Others vomited blood. Reality bent. But the Revenant didn't fall. He raised his hand and spoke a single word. "Remember." Across Earth, things came back. A child remembered her mother's lullaby. A soldier remembered his name. A city long lost reappeared for 10 seconds before fading again, and for the first time, the eater paused. It hesitated. The Revenant smiled. "You fear her." Inside Haven 9, Echo 1 stood fully now, her skin glowing like a small sun. "I can hold him," she said, voice calm, "but I can't stop him alone." Mira placed a hand on her shoulder. "You won't have to." The children, the awakened soldiers, and the cryo survivors began to gather. Their memories, small, forgotten things, started rising around them. Old toys, family photos, pieces of lost lives. They remembered, and the more they did, the more real Earth became again. The eater began to shrink, screaming in thought, drowning in memory. The Revenant turned back to the base. His body was burning, glowing cracks in his skin. He had minutes left. He shouted to Mira through the storm, "Now! Use the field! Bind memory with the Echo Drive!" Voight hesitated. "It will kill her." Mira shook her head. "It will make her more." They activated the device. Echo 1 screamed once, not in pain, but in light. She lifted into the air. Memories from every survivor wrapped around her, like armor made of time itself. She became a beacon, not to the eaters, but to what came before them, to the race that had first stood against the eaters at the dawn of creation. And in the final second of day 26, the stars blinked, and something ancient blinked back. The first eater shrieked, not in fear, but in rage. It had been marked, and now it knew it could die. Mira collapsed, exhausted. The Echo Drive held. Earth was still here, but the Revenant was not. Only a crater remained where he had stood. Theo walked to the edge. Inside it, one small piece of armor lay glowing. He picked it up and heard the Revenant's voice faint in his mind. "Not gone, not yet. You still have 4 days." The world was quiet, too quiet. The sky was cracked. 2 tiers still hovered above Earth, one opened by the eaters, the other bleeding from Echo 1's scream. But nothing moved now. No attack, no signal, no voice. Just silence. Captain Mira stood at the main window of Haven 9, staring up at the sky. "They're waiting," she said. Theo nodded beside her. "They know we're stronger now. They're thinking." Behind them, Echo 1 sat quietly. Her golden eyes were dim. Her body was Weak, she had given too much. Voight checked her vitals. She's alive, but barely. That energy wasn't meant to flow through a human. She's not just human anymore, Theo whispered. On day 27, strange things began to happen. People who had died in the first wave suddenly appeared in corridors, just for a second. A dead girl cried in the cafeteria. A missing pilot walked through a wall. A city that had burned to ash reappeared in a photo, but when someone reached out, these visions vanished like smoke. Dr. Voight ran tests. We're not seeing ghosts, she said. We're seeing memories, real ones. Trying to return, Mira asked. Why? Theo replied softly. Because someone's remembering them. Echo One opened her eyes. I didn't do it, she said. He did. Mira froze. Who? Echo One looked toward the sky. The Revenant. No one had seen him die. But his armor was found, glowing, in a crater. His voice had whispered from it. Now, Earth's forgotten people were returning, piece by piece. He's breaking the Eaters from the inside, Theo said, fighting them where they live, in memory. But it came with a price. Each time the Forgotten returned, the sky cracked more. The Eaters were watching, waiting for a mistake. Day 28, the children stopped speaking again. This time, they pointed at the stars and said only one thing. They're coming back, but not alone. Theo's scanners lit up that night. An object was approaching Earth. Fast, not an Eater, not human, something else. Voight analyzed the signal. This isn't tech, it's alive. They waited at Haven 9's hangar. All weapons, ready. Troops in place. The object slowed and entered orbit, then dropped like a meteor. It hit the Earth gently, no explosion. Just light. A figure walked out. It was tall, thin, not flesh or metal, something in between, and it was wearing armor like the Revenants. The figure spoke in broken English. I remember the fall. Mira stepped forward. Who are you? I was like him, it said, nodding toward the Revenant's empty armor. One of the first bound, before memory broke. Echo One stepped forward. You were erased. The figure nodded. But not lost. He pulled us back. Theo's mouth was dry. How many? The figure looked up at the sky. All of us. Day 29. The stars began to blink, one by one. Each blink was a ship. Not warships, but people. The forgotten, the erased. Survivors from 1,000 dead worlds, coming home. But the Eaters noticed. The sky opened again. Not in one place, but everywhere. Dozens of small rips, like claws scratching through paper. Mira shouted to her team. Hold the field. Get Echo One. To the core, Voight replied. We can't move her. Her energy is binding the memory stream. Theo's face was pale. If we lose her, the first Eater returns. Inside the memory stream, the Revenant was dying, but he smiled. Around him stood millions of figures, people eaten by the Eaters long ago. People who had been nothing but silence for centuries. They now stood with him. They forgot you, he whispered. But I didn't. The first Eater screamed inside the memory. It twisted, it cracked. It saw its mistake. Too many minds were returning, too many names remembered. Back on Earth, the sky split one final time. The first Eater began to emerge again, this time slower, weaker, covered in cracks of golden light. Echo One stood, barely. I can hold it. One last time, Mira grabbed her hand. You don't have to. We're not alone now. Voight activated the Echo Drive one final time, now powered not just by Echo One, but by every memory returned. Cities long gone. Names erased. Families broken. All of it surged into the sky. The Revenant raised his hand inside the stream of memory. Now, he whispered, and vanished. On Earth, Echo 1 collapsed. Light shot from her body into the sky, wrapping around the Eater. Not fire, not force, but recognition. The Eater shrieked. Its skin burned. It couldn't feed anymore. It was known. And what is known cannot consume. In a final flash, the sky went white. When it cleared, the tears were gone. The Eater was gone, and the Earth was silent again. Day 30, the last day. Mira stood outside Haven 9, the wind blowing gently for the first time in weeks. The stars were quiet. Theo joined her. "Did we win?" he asked. She nodded. "I think we survived." Voight stepped out, tears in her eyes. "Echo 1 is gone," Mira asked. "Dead?" Voight shook her head. "No, just too far from here. She's memory now." That night, Theo sat alone and turned on a recording from the armor piece. The Revenant's final message. "If you're hearing this, then we did it. Not because I was strong, but because you remembered. That's all we ever were. A memory worth saving." They vanished into light, but their shadow still shapes the stars. The humans were gone. Again. But this time, they didn't disappear in fear or silence. They left on purpose, and they left behind something far more powerful than ships or weapons. They left behind a path. The silent systems across the galaxy. There were now entire systems with no people, no sound, no war. Just quiet planets, glowing softly at night with strange white patterns on the surface. Ships that entered these places reported dreams, visions of humans made of light, whispers of hope, of peace, and a question left behind on every world. Will you follow? The keeper of stories in a library satellite orbiting a dead sun, a single old alien worked alone. Her name was Rava. She was a recorder of history. She had lived long before humanity arrived, and now she lived after they had gone. She studied their final messages, their ruins, and the strange data patterns they left. One day, her screen lit up. It showed a single line. "We are not lost. We are becoming." She smiled and began writing again. "This is the story of the ones who did not run, who did not conquer, but who transcended." A new star appears near the edge of the galaxy. A new star was born, bright white and pulsing. No natural process could explain it. No sun, no fusion, no collapse. It just appeared. Scientists couldn't study it. Sensors failed. Telescopes blurred, but every being who looked at it felt something deep in their heart, like a voice saying, "You're not alone." Not anymore. And that star never dimmed. The children. Who remembered a generation grew up hearing the stories of the humans? They never saw them, never spoke to them, but they knew them. They dreamed of light. They whispered their names. They drew maps of stars that didn't exist, yet. And when they reached adulthood, many of them vanished too, not with ships, not with war, but in silence. In peace. With a soft smile on their faces, they became light. The last monument on Earth, the birthplace of mankind, only one monument remained untouched by time. A single black stone with words carved deep. We were broken. We were feared. But we rose anyway. We became more, not gods, not ghosts, but light that remembers. It stood at the center of an empty city under a quiet sky. Every few years, someone new would find it, and every time, they left changed. The legacy in the stars, even though the humans were gone, their legacy grew. They had ended wars, not with force, but with example. They had changed minds, not with fear, but with hope. They had become more than a species. They had become a question. The galaxy could not stop asking, what else is out there? What else could we become? And that question echoed from star to star, across time and space. A final transmission Just once, in the deepest part of space, an old human signal came alive. It played for only 7 seconds. A voice, calm, warm, familiar, spoke. If you are hearing this, then you still have time. Look up, follow the light. We are waiting. Then it ended. Forever.